Hello and welcome to today's video. Today we are here and it's another episode of the Racing Debrief. Today, again, we have a little bit more NASCAR things, and F1, of course, is the series focuses on uh, both racing series. Today we're going to be talking about NASCAR races throughout the weekend, give some takes on that. But first, the NASCAR Top 75 list. They've been expanding on that. Obviously, it's the top 50 from 1998 with 25 new drivers. And already last Sunday, Tony Stewart was announced on that list. So throughout the week, they added a few more to that. Casey Kane, Mike Stefanik, Randy LaJoy, and Kyle Larson added to the list. I mean, they're all deserving of being on the list. Casey Kane with his success in the Cup Series and even success in the lower levels. I mean, his truck stats of 5 wins and 6 starts is pretty impressive of itself. Mike Stefanik being more of a modifieds guy. So, again, he's in the Hall of Fame. So, top 75 makes sense. Randy LaJoy winning in the Xfinity Series. Obviously, Busch Series at the time. But winning in that series, you know, multiple championships and that, definitely deserving of that. Kyle Larson, 2021 Cup champion, and already up to 22, 23 wins, something like that, or 21. I don't know, something in that range, maybe 21 wins, but still a decent amount of wins already in his career. So another deserving driver on that list. I believe it is 21 with his win at Martinsville. So 20 wins, and he was announced 21 now. So other news: Chase Elliott's back. Did anybody notice? Yeah, they hyped that up quite a lot. Uh, Man, if you're a Chase Elliott fan, that's cool, but didn't really do anything for me. Yeah, no, there was a lot. I mean, him come back from injury, that's good. Don't get me wrong, but just the way they went wild over this man coming back is interesting. But again, he came back, missed 6 weeks. There was TV ads for it, ads on Instagram, many Instagram posts. So if you missed it, don't know what you're doing. Nice to go to the truck race. Truck race was a race that took place at Martinsville. that was that was a tough one. Friday night I was chilling. I was just like, all right, we're gonna watch some racing, and yeah, we didn't watch racing. We kind of just watched some trucks go around a track under caution. Yeah, it wasn't a good race. Let's put it that way. They did try out rain tires. So it was the first time that any of the 3 national series raced with rain tires on an oval, or wet weather tires, whatever they want to call them now. I do feel like it was an interesting situation. Seeing them out there, I mean, it didn't really provide any different racing because, again, it's meant to be when the track's damp, which, I mean, I wouldn't mind to see a little bit of racing in the rain. I think that they could have done that. I also would like to see it be more of a team decision. I think that that's an appeal of racing in the rain that I feel like NASCAR hasn't embraced. I think that, you see something like F1, where if it's raining or it starts to rain, I mean, if it's in the race, it's up to you. I think at the start, the FIA can announce that it's these certain tires. I think it's full wets. But outside of that, do whatever you want. So NASCAR, announces the rain race, which, okay, rain tires. But then when it's slightly raining, I mean, I don't think that there has to be a threshold. I think you can race in the rain. If not, why do you have wipers on the windows? Why do you have wipers if you're just racing in damp conditions? And I get it. The damp conditions make sense because, again, you can run a race and get, significant time of racing in that you wouldn't have because, of that situation where the tire doesn't have to be fully dry. But I'd like to see them at least try to race in the rain a little bit, because that really kind of hurt the truck race. Stopping for rain when you have rain tires doesn't look the best. We skipped to the Xfinity Series race. My main takeaway from that is John Hunter Nemechek's burnout. Lighting the whole track on fire. Of course, again, product of the rain packages is the mud flaps on there, or the rain flaps, whatever you want to call them, that prevent the spray coming up as much. It's pieces of rubber hanging down that cause, they can catch on fire basically when the rubber from the tires is burning and melting. It can melt them and catch it on fire, which is very interesting. But I mean, he was doing burnouts. There was flames everywhere, and he was catching the car on fire, still doing burnouts. Rubber on the track was on fire. It was good. Obviously good for his sponsor, which has to do with fire extinguishers. So, worked out there. But we go to the Cup race. Stewart-Haas Racing Performance going into that race, absolutely, brilliant with their qualifying, getting all the cars in the top 10. Ryan Preece at the pole. Throughout the race, Ryan Preece led the first 130 laps or something like that. Absolutely dominant. Chase Briscoe, Kevin Harvick leading laps. Kevin Harvick also winning stage 2. That was cool. He hadn't won a stage since 2020. When they said that on broadcast, that was just surprising to me. Even as a Kevin Harvick fan, I thought somewhere in there he won a stage. But I guess 2021 was not a great season, so I guess it makes sense. 2022 kind of picked up a little later on. But yeah, it was good to see him win a stage. I was excited to see him out there leading. I was hoping he was going to be able to win the thing, but obviously towards the end, the flat tire, basically right after pit stops, which is very, very strange, costing that. And throughout the race, different penalties. Ryan Preece got a speeding penalty, so that hurt him. So Stewart-Haas, in the end, didn't get the result that they probably would have wanted. But overall, showing that they do have performance, something we haven't seen from that team since 2020. 2021, they had Eric Almirola win one race. Last year, they got a few more wins with 3, Harvick getting 2, Briscoe getting 1. But, after seeing them, dominant in, I know 2018, they killed it. 2019 was solid. Harvick killed it in 2020, but the last 2 years, 21 and 22, were not great. And honestly, the start of this year wasn't great. Harvick was top 10. Everybody else is, way down the standings until the last race or two. So, seeing the other drivers do well, obviously is good. I'm hoping for a Kevin Harvick win. I want to see him get that win in the last season. Seeing a favorite driver get a win in general is cool, but in that last season, got to see him get a win. Speaking of Kevin Harvick, I did get the special shirt for North Wilkesboro All-Star Race with the 29 Busch Light car on it. That's gonna be so cool when that diecast comes in as well. But in other things, Kyle Larson winning. A lot of the drivers that weren't really anywhere in the race or weren't in the front got to the front with some strategy there towards the end. Things worked out. Kyle Larson got the win. So that was cool seeing me the second one of the year. Kyle Larson is definitely one of the drivers that's high on my list, and basically one of the top 2 drivers that I'd consider for favorite drivers going into 2024. I haven't really discussed that, but basically it's between Ty Gibbs or Kyle Larson. One of those 2. So, overall, the race, I'd say it was decent. I see a lot of people who are saying on Reddit, scrolling through some of the things, I like to scroll through the feed, the live chat. I didn't get to do it this week. I was behind a little bit on the race, but normally I like to scroll through the live feed. But looking at the race, overall, either people were saying it was amazing or it was really bad. And I don't think it falls in either category. I don't think that it was complete trash. I think that there was moments, there's some good battles, good racing side by side, 3 wide. but it didn't have the action you'd expect from Martinsville. I think that the package that NASCAR has brought to the short tracks and the road courses, with the smaller spoiler, the less strakes on the car, I think it's helped. I think that the short tracks, obviously, we know were really hurt by the next gen. I think that there's only so much you can do. I think the low downforce helps. I think, obviously, the NASCAR is not going to increase horsepower, but horsepower would help. And again, the tires, just being a low profile, wider tire, there's more grip. There's more contact points. I mean, that's going to create more grip. If you have more spots, more tread, or more, tire touching the track, you're going to have more grip. So, I mean, there's only so much you can do. I think the tire is really a main limiting factor. The tire and the horsepower. Those are the two things that, unless they're like, we're going to bring a different tire to short tracks, I think you can only do so much. Overall, though, I think that it's a step in the right direction. Obviously, it's better than last year's Martinsville race in the spring. I mean, let's be honest. Martinsville in the spring last year was absolutely terrible. So, definitely an increase in that. Again, whoever had the lead typically kept the lead. And if you got stuck in the back, and we've seen it with Ryan Preece, he absolutely dominated. 130 laps led in the beginning. Once he got the speeding penalty in the second caution, he got up to 20th. That was it. Like, that was the car the fastest, qualifying. Pulled away from the second place car. I mean, he was the second and a half. Good amount of that time in the lead. But once he got stuck by there, there's nothing he could do about it. So that needs to be improved, but I think that is a step in the right direction. But I think the end result of what NASCAR could get to could be better. Take a quick moment here to jump on over to one little piece of F1 news. They're discussing South Africa as a race. Obviously, that was discussed before, but it could come at the cost of Spa. One of the most iconic tracks in F1. In Belgium, I think that losing a race in Europe, losing an iconic track like that on F1's calendar would be unfortunate. We would have lost races in Germany. We don't have a race in France. I mean, you're going to lose Belgium. I think South Africa should be on. I think that, F1 being a global sport needs to have a race in Africa. I think that you can't say we're a global sport and skip out on a continent. I mean, there's 6 continents that you can race on. Why are we only on 5? We got North America, we got South America, Europe, obviously, Asia, Oceania. Like, we're missing out on Africa. I mean, if you want to get technical, there's 7 continents, but they're not going to race in Antarctica. I mean, they could. Snow tires, throw it on. I'm sure they're trying wild things. But I've seen a lot of comments that I agree with for what F1's doing. And what they're doing is something that I kind of have seen the result of. As a NASCAR fan for ever, right? Like, I was watching races before I could even remember them. But really, since I've been able to remember races, it's one of those things that there wasn't a focus on the history. NASCAR in the 90s was seeing this increase in popularity that, it hit the peak of in 2006. That was when NASCAR had the peak of its popularity. Since then, it's decreased, and then, they're trying to increase it again. But what they did in the 90s was, when they seen so much popularity, they abandoned the history. You've seen tracks like North Wilkesboro, Rockingham come off the calendar in favor of tracks like Texas, Las Vegas, seeing an increase in those. Which, for a little bit was okay, but you lose that history. You lose what people fell in love with the sport for when you get rid of those tracks, right? I mean, North Wilkesboro, short track, a lot of contact. You go to Texas, which now is seen as the worst unanimously, and to get NASCAR fans to agree on things is very difficult. Almost unanimously agree Texas is the worst track. So seeing something where F1's doing a similar path, right? Now, I've been an F1 fan since 2019. So I kind of got in as the popularity was really hitting. So, joining in that. But I would stay watching it no matter what. I'm not here just because it's popular. I'm be honest. I just enjoy watching racing. And for me, getting into F1, I don't necessarily want to be put in the group of people that got into it just because of Drive to Survive. I think of Drive to Survive as more of a way that opened an opportunity to see the sport. Because I had seen a few things from F1, but I didn't really know how to access it because I never seen it promoted because it wasn't really promoted before, like, Liberty Media bought it. Liberty Media bought it, and that's when started promoting it. So the promotion worked where I was able to see it. And I thought in 2017, I played a demo of F1 2017. I was like, oh, it's going to be heat, but I never thought, get more into it. But again, seeing the shift, even in that time, from 2019 to now, where these tracks that, because again, I want to learn the history. That's the thing. I want to know the history. And seeing the history of these tracks that have been basically mainstays on the calendar throughout its history. I mean, Spa's been pretty consistent in F1 since it started in the 50s, and even before F1 was a thing. It was a consistently raced track. And to see it be threatened to go away, or, see something like Germany, where I got to watch the German Grand Prix in 2019. To see those tracks have threats going away, even something like Monaco, where it's like, does Monaco stay? Does Monaco get changed? Like, you don't question does Monaco stay or not. Like, Monaco has to stay. Or something like Spa, like, that has to stay. There's certain races that you just got to keep. And again, it's not me against a race in South Africa, because I'm for a race in South Africa. I'm just not for a race taking away the history and seeing the potential damage that could cause. I think it's cool they're doing races in America, but do we really need 3? Circuit of the Americas is great. Miami had an interesting atmosphere, seeing that, but the race wasn't brilliant. But, what will Las Vegas do? That's already got a contract, I think, until, I think they're trying to extend the contract before the first race even happened. There's things that are happening that seem like they're good now. But what damage will that do? We're changing, changing a weekend format. Getting rid of practices to put sprints and more qualifying. So it feels like, something where NASCAR had said, we're going away from a normal points format and we're introducing the chase. They introduced the chase in 2004. And since then, switching it to calling it the playoffs and making elimination rounds and all that, it's became a joke, and a lot of the times that the champion that wins it isn't the deserving champion. So you make these changes that just hurt the sport eventually. It may not hurt it now, but what's it going to do in 3 years? What's it going to do in 5 years? Those are the things that you don't want to see happen. And if they do say we're putting South Africa on, okay, we're getting to the Belgian Grand Prix, what's that going to do? Because you look at next year's calendar, and I think that it's at the point where most of the tracks are confirmed. They either have a contract or they're going to have a contract, right? You have, because this year's got 23 races? Yeah, this year has 23 races. I think Belgium's the only one without a contract. This year has 22 races because China's not on it. I think the Chinese Grand Prix would have been this weekend. So China's Grand Prix is not on it. They didn't put a replacement. But you look at that, and that's going to put him at 23. Concord Agreement says we can go to 24. Now Stefano Domenicali is trying to get it to go to higher than what Concord Agreement says, and he's trying to talk to the teams. But if it stays, or if it goes above, if it stays at 24, Spa's the only one. You're trying to get South Africa, that's going to create some issues. But I just don't want to see that happen. Either way, thank you all for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you guys in the next one.